My son-in-law called me dead weight after I fell in the kitchen and asked for help. My daughter rolled her eyes and said, "We can't babysit you forever." I moved into the garage so they could have their privacy. On my birthday, they left me a frozen meal and a note, "Make yourself useful." That night, I called the one person they never thought I'd speak to again. I'm a 64-year-old man from Akron, Ohio. Used to be a mechanic. Worked almost 40 years at the same shop until my knees finally gave out. I was good at my job. Never got rich, but I paid my bills, raised my daughter, and kept a roof over our heads. I was never the kind of dad who missed school plays or forgot birthdays. I gave everything to my daughter, Callie. After her mother died of cancer when Callie was 10, it was just the two of us. I never dated again. I didn't want to bring anyone else into her life. She was my whole world. We were close. At least I thought we were. I paid for her braces, her softball camps, prom dress, and later, her first year of college. When she got into debt after dropping out, I cashed out what was left of my 401k to help her. I never held it against her. I figured that's what parents do. You give and you give. Then she met Ryan. He was slick. Always on his phone, always talking like he was smarter than everyone else. I didn't like him. He acted polite to my face, but I could see through it. He talked down to me about things like financial independence and asset diversification, and made little comments about boomer thinking. He was the kind of guy who never got his hands dirty. You know the type. They got married 3 years ago. I paid for most of the wedding. Fast forward to last year. My knees started giving out for real. Doctor said I'd need surgery, but since I lost my insurance when I retired early, I was stuck waiting on the VA. Couldn't move around my apartment much anymore. Fell twice trying to get down the stairs. Callie called me one night and said, "Dad, this is crazy. Just come live with us for a while." I didn't want to. I knew how Ryan felt about me, but she sounded worried. I thought maybe things had changed. I packed my things, gave up my place, and moved into their guest room. First, it was okay. I tried to help around the house. I did the dishes, vacuumed, folded laundry, even prepped dinner some nights before they got home. But slowly, I started noticing things. They'd go out to dinner and not tell me. I'd ask if they needed help with yard work, and Ryan would say, "Nah, just relax, old man." But it didn't sound kind. It sounded sharp. Then the comments started. One night, I left a light on in the hallway. Ryan said, "We're not made of money." Callie laughed like it was funny. Another time, I took too long in the bathroom and Ryan made a joke about how I better not die on the toilet. Just stuff like that. First I let it go, but it kept happening. One morning, I slipped in the kitchen. My knee locked up and I went straight to the floor. I couldn't move. Felt like something had torn. I called out, "Callie, Ryan." Ryan came in, stared at me for a second, and said, "Man, you're dead weight. You've got to stop doing this." Dead weight. That one stuck. Callie came in behind him and rolled her eyes. "We can't babysit you forever," she muttered. "Babysit? I raised her. I gave up everything for her. And now I was a burden." I didn't say anything. I just waited until they went to work that day. Then I grabbed my toolbox, my coat, and some old blankets and moved into the garage. I told them I didn't want to be in the way. Ryan said, "If that's what you want, that's fine." Callie didn't say much, just gave me a weird look and walked away. They gave me an old cot and a space heater that barely worked. The garage didn't have insulation. I spent the nights bundled up in 2 coats, trying not to let my joints lock up in the cold. Winter hit hard that year. The wind blew through the cracks in the garage door. Sometimes I'd hear them laughing in the house. Eating dinner, watching TV. I tried to stay out of their way. I only came inside when I had to use the bathroom or microwave food. They stopped inviting me to eat with them. Most nights, I'd eat in silence, sitting on a paint bucket. Then came my birthday. I woke up to the sound of the garage door creaking. There was no cake, no phone call, no card, just a frozen meatloaf meal on the workbench and a sticky note that said, "Make yourself useful." I sat there staring at that note for a long time. That morning was the coldest it had been in weeks. My fingers were stiff, my knees were swollen, and something inside me just snapped. That was the day I stopped pretending. That night, after they went to sleep, I pulled out an old flip phone I kept buried in my toolbox. The battery was almost dead, but it still worked. I hadn't used it in years. I only kept it in case of emergencies. I dialed the only number I still had memorized, my brother, Mitch. We hadn't spoken in 15 years. After our dad died, we fought over the estate. Words were said. Things were broken. We both held grudges. But he picked up. "Frank," he said. "Yeah," I said. "I need a favor." Silence. Then, "Say the word." I told him everything. He didn't interrupt. Just listened. Then he said, "You've got a place here if you want it. I'll be there in 2 days." But I didn't want to run. I wasn't ready to leave yet. Because I had a plan. And it started the next morning. The next morning, I acted like nothing had changed. I microwaved the frozen meal and ate it out in the garage. I smiled when Callie passed by on her way to work, even though she didn't say good morning. Ryan didn't even look at me. I kept my mouth shut and started watching. Listening. Every little detail mattered now. Where they kept their keys. What time they left the house. When the deliveries came. Who they talked to on the phone. 2 nights later, I saw Ryan sneaking out around 11 p.m. Callie was asleep upstairs. I watched through a gap in the garage door. He didn't take his car. He walked 3 blocks down, got into a gray SUV that pulled up real quiet. He didn't come back until nearly 3 a.m. I didn't say a word. The next week, I saw him do it again. Different car. Same time. Same sneaky behavior. I started writing it all down in an old notebook I kept in my tool drawer. Meanwhile, Mitch came through on his promise. He drove up from Columbus and met me at a diner downtown. I hadn't seen him in over a decade. We looked older, slower, but that connection was still there. We talked like no time had passed. I told him everything. He shook his head, furious. "Come stay with me," he said. "I will," I told him. "But not yet. I need to finish this." He looked at me and nodded. "What do you need?" "I need to dig." So we started. Mitch had a buddy who worked in real estate. Found out Ryan had opened a second bank account 6 months ago under a fake LLC. He was funneling money into it, big deposits, none of it from his main job. We traced it to some shady property deals. Turns out he was working with another woman. A partner, he called her on the legal paperwork. She wasn't just a partner. I got a picture of them together. Arms around each other at some conference in Florida. And it wasn't the only picture. The woman was younger. Blonde. And she wasn't just business. I printed it out. Put it in my notebook. I wasn't planning on going nuclear yet. I wanted more. I started recording conversations. Left my phone on when I was in the house doing laundry. Got them on tape talking about how much of a drain I was. How they wished I'd just go stay at the VA. One night, Callie even said maybe if he dies soon, we can finally redo the garage. That one stung worse than the rest. I had a daughter once. I don't know who she is now. But I wasn't just going to walk away. Mitch and I started building a case. We pulled property records, bank transfers, emails from a shared laptop they kept in the den. Ryan forgot to log out. It all painted a clear picture. Ryan was planning to leave Callie. He was draining her accounts, buying property in someone else's name, and getting ready to disappear. But he hadn't told her yet. He was stringing her along until he could take everything. Now that was interesting. I had leverage. And I was going to use it. But first, I needed her to see who he really was. So I waited. And then I left the notebook in her car. Just slipped it into the glove box, tucked under some receipts. She found it 3 days later. I know because I heard her scream. The scream came around 6:30 that night. I was in the garage pretending to organize some old wires when I heard the front door slam open. Heavy steps. A thud. Then her voice. "Dad." She threw open the garage door so hard it bounced off the wall. She was holding the notebook in both hands like it was poison. "What the hell is this?" Her face was red, eyes wide, like she couldn't decide if she was mad or scared. I didn't answer right away. I looked at her. Really looked at her. My daughter. She looked like a stranger. "Where'd you find it?" I asked quietly. "You put it in my car. Why would you?" "This is sick," she shouted. "You've been spying on us?" "No," I said. "I've been surviving." She started flipping through the pages. Her hands were shaking. "You expect me to believe this crap? That Ryan's cheating? That he's stealing from me? You've always hated him." "I don't need you to believe it," I said. "Just check the facts." She stared at me, and for a second, I saw something crack behind her eyes. That night, she didn't come back into the garage. But the next day, she was quiet. Didn't speak to me, didn't make eye contact. Ryan stayed out even later than usual. I knew he could feel it too, the tension. Then, 3 nights later, it all exploded. I was in bed, well, on my cot, when I heard them shouting upstairs. Callie was screaming. Ryan was yelling back. Something about boundaries and how dare you go through my stuff. Then something broke glass, maybe. I heard her yell, you lied to me, and Ryan shout back, it's not what you think. I stayed in the garage. Let it burn. The next morning, Ryan was gone. Just like that. His car, his suits, even his gaming computer. Gone. Callie didn't come out of her room that day. The house was dead quiet. I waited. That evening, she came into the garage. Her eyes were red. She looked smaller somehow, like the fight had drained out of her. You were right, she said. I didn't say anything. She sat on an old milk crate next to the workbench. He was planning to leave me. There's some account. I checked the laptop. It's all true. I nodded. Yeah. She wiped her eyes. Why didn't you just tell me? I did, I said. In the only way you'd listen. Silence. Then she looked around at the freezing, cluttered garage. You shouldn't be out here. I didn't answer. I'll move some stuff around, she said. Get your room back in order. You can... No, I said. I'm not coming back in. She looked like I slapped her. You're my dad. Not when it mattered, I said. That should have been the end of it. But 2 days later, a letter showed up. Addressed to me. No return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Picture. Ryan. In another city. Holding hands with the blonde from the LLC paperwork. And under it, a single sentence. Typed in bold. You weren't the only one he played. Then a second note, folded behind the photo. We need to talk. M. It wasn't from Mitch, and I had no idea who this M was. But I was about to find out. The letter shook me up. For a moment, I thought Ryan was taunting me. But he wasn't that smart. This was someone else. The handwriting on the envelope was careful, blocky, like someone who didn't want to be known. I stared at the picture for a long time. Ryan and the blonde somewhere warm. Palm trees in the background. His hand on her lower back. Her head on his shoulder. The second note said, we need to talk. M. Not Mitch. He always signed his name with a full signature and added, your big bro, as a joke. I called Mitch anyway just to make sure. He hadn't sent it. That meant someone else was watching Ryan. Someone with a reason. 3 days later, another envelope came. This one had an address and a time. A library in Medina, Ohio. Wednesday at 2 p.m. That was all. I didn't tell Callie. I just said I had errands to run and took Mitch's truck. I showed up early, waited at a table near the back where nobody else was around. At exactly 2 o'clock, a woman sat down across from me. Mid-30s. Brown hair. Wore sunglasses and a coat even though it was warm inside. She pulled out a folder. Set it on the table. Opened it. More photos. Bank records. Credit card statements. I'm Melissa, she said, low voice. Ryan and I were engaged. 2 years ago. Until I found out about your daughter. He said she was just a friend who needed help paying off debt. Said she was sick, mentally unstable, and he was her financial guardian. He even got her to put assets in his name. I didn't say anything. Just nodded. I didn't believe him. So I followed the money. He used me. He used her. He's done it before. I tracked 4 women in 3 states. All left with empty accounts and broken credit. Same story. Different lies. She leaned forward. He ruined my life. Took my savings, lied to my parents, and left me with debt collectors. I want him to pay. Not just jail. I want people to know who he is. I want him humiliated. Now, that caught my attention. Melissa already had everything. But she didn't know about Callie's house, the second laptop, or the secret safe in the closet that Ryan thought nobody knew about. I did. I knew that man's patterns by heart now. So we made a plan. Melissa filed a report with the authorities in Arizona, where she'd lived with Ryan, and started the legal process. Meanwhile, I gave her access to every document I had, the fake LLC paperwork, proof of property fraud, hidden money transfers, the picture from Florida. She used all of it. But we didn't stop there. Melissa contacted the women Ryan had conned in other states. All of them were angry. One had lost her house. One had filed for bankruptcy. One had almost taken her own life. They all agreed to join in. Melissa was smart. She created a website, public records, screenshots, timelines, a full breakdown of how Ryan operated. She didn't post it yet, she was waiting for the right time. We picked Ryan's birthday. Meanwhile, Callie was falling apart. After Ryan left, her bank account was nearly empty. Her credit was shot. She found out he'd taken out a loan in her name. She cried a lot, asked me to forgive her. I told her I'd always love her, but forgiveness wasn't a light switch. She offered to let me back into the house. I said no. I moved in with Mitch down in Columbus. Got myself a little room in his basement. Not fancy, but warmer than that garage. I even started helping out at a local repair shop part-time. Felt good to use my hands again. 2 months later, Ryan resurfaced. He showed up on Instagram, new life, new name, and a new girlfriend. Blonde, young, same type. We gave the signal. Melissa published everything. The site went viral. Reddit picked it up. Then Facebook. Then news outlets. People started tagging Ryan in the posts. Screenshots of his accounts, copies of legal papers, victim stories. One of the women had friends in media. The story blew up. Ryan lost everything. His network cut him off. His new girlfriend dumped him live on TikTok when she saw the website. A week later, police in Arizona issued a warrant for fraud and identity theft. He ran, but not fast enough. They got him in Nevada, hiding under a fake name at a rundown Airbnb. Extradited back to Arizona. Multiple charges. They say he'll be inside for at least 12 years. I watched the trial online. Melissa sat in the front row. So did 2 of the other women. I stayed home. Didn't want to see his face again. But I did get a letter from him. From jail. It said, "You destroyed me. I hope you're proud." I burned it. As for Callie, she's still trying to fix her life. She comes down to visit sometimes. Brings me pie, offers to drive me to appointments. She even got a second job. She asks a lot about the past. Tries to talk like she used to. Some days it feels real. Some days I can't look at her. I told her the truth. I'm not mad anymore. But I remember everything. We talk. We're slow. Healing's not fast when trust is broken. I made mistakes too. I should have spoken up sooner. I let pride keep me quiet. I let guilt keep me stuck. I should have stood up for myself the first time Ryan disrespected me. Maybe if I had, things wouldn't have gone so far. But I can't change the past. Only thing I can do now is live the rest of my days in peace on my terms. I may be old. I may be tired. But I'm not dead weight.